The word industry plant has become the most overused term when it comes to music discourse, because I legitimately believe 95% of the people using the word do not know what it means. And honestly, this isn't like a new topic of discussion, because this was heavily discussed last year from somebody that definitely was an industry plant. But honestly, the discourse has become so annoying at this point because it's targeted on one person that is not an industry plant, and that's Doechii. The word industry plant has been a word that a lot of music figures and music moguls have used over the term when it comes to them documenting or talking about, you know, certain stars in music. And so now when you hear that word and you hear the context that it's in, you just kind of attribute that to, honestly, anybody at this point. Like, if you would have asked the internet who's an industry plant, they damn near tell you everybody's an industry plant. But the word also discredits a lot of people's hard work who are definitely not industry plants. Like, I remember Complex being on the red carpet of some award show, and one artist was like, the word industry plant honestly demeans a lot of people's hard work and what they do into the craft. And then she go on to say that industry plants don't exist, which not true, but her first sentiment is correct. Just to give you an example, in the wrestling community or internet wrestling community, we have been exposed to so much insider information that we kind of all picked up, you know, the insider terms like kayfabe, babyface, heel, or what a push is. But the most overused word out of all of that is Barry. Barry essentially means somebody who was on the rise or could be potentially on the rise that the fans either really like, or somebody that was already on top and they're losing to somebody where it just doesn't make sense at all, and it kills all their legitimacy. Like, think of a superstar that was having a major push at the time, and then think of somebody who is a low-life nobody super jobber in industry, and then put those two together and then the jobber wins. That's what a Barry realistically is. But now the word has just been honestly used as, I like this person a lot, I don't really care for this person. And so if that person that I don't really care for beats the person that I really like, oh, you just buried him. You just buried one of my favorite people. And that's not what the word means at all. And the same thing goes with industry plants. So let me make the record clear. Doechii's not an industry plant. And let me explain why. If you ask Google what the definition of industry plant is, Google's essentially going to tell you that an industry plant is somebody who kind of just came out of nowhere but are deeming themselves to be an independent artist when it's obvious that they're getting backed by a label or a machine. What Google doesn't want to tell you, though, is the other part of what an industry plant is. And that's somebody who is either a Nepo baby or has been in the Hollywood spaces and circles for a while, aka a Disney star or a Nick star. And now they're being heavily marketed as the biggest pop star in the world. That's the other definition that Google doesn't want to tell you. So let's talk about some people who are industry plants and some people who aren't. And let's again circle back to Doechii. If you weren't in the know or wasn't paying attention to black culture, black women, you know, the LGBTQ spaces, the drag spaces, the dance spaces, then obviously you wouldn't know who Doechii is. And I said this in my Grammy video when she won Rap Album of the Year, that this was going to happen, because the label is going to now market her as one of the biggest rap stars, which she honestly should be marketed in that trajectory of one of the biggest rising rap stars now, because she deserves it. Doechii has got multiple hit songs. They might not have been Billboard Top 100 hits, but they definitely went viral in the spaces that they needed to go viral in. And she's done a lot of the ground level work. She's been, you know, the small headline on the festival. She's done, you know, the pop-up shows. She's done all of this. She's been here the entire time. And so now that essentially white men are seeing who Doechii is for the first time, they're just going to spew that word out because they haven't seen her before. And so now the word industry plant and those people in that particular thing feel so loud because, contrary to what, you know, a lot of black people like to believe, white people listen to rap way more than we do. And that's just purely a numbers thing, statistically wise. So no, Doechii's not an industry plant. Doechii is just somebody that TDE has now cultivated and marketed to, you know, now be propelled as the next rising star in rap, which she honestly deserves. Because again, like I said, Alligator Bites Never Heal was a good project, and it makes sense as to why it was going to win Rap Album of the Year. I just knew the underlining reasoning as to why it was going to win Rap Album of the Year. It's because they're trying to make her this superstar, which, again, for the third time, she deserves. Rap needs somebody who is dark-skinned, LGBTQ, that can represent that in hip-hop, because hip-hop needs that. And I'm not joking when I say the Doechii industry plant thing is very loud on the internet. Like, look at these comments right here of just one post of multiple people calling her industry plant. And that's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to that one post comment section. You can look at anything that has to do with Doechii. Hell, I honestly want you to go to the rap page right now. Look at anything where it comes to Doechii. Look at the comment and then look at the likes next to it. It's ridiculous at this point. But let's talk about somebody who is 1000% an industry plant. 4Bats. 4Bats is the only rapper that I've seen have multiple publications trying to defend him and saying that he's not an industry plant. And where has 4Bats been since his little summer run? You don't know where he's at. He was on the XXL freshman cover, and honestly, everybody's forgotten about him since. And the argument for him being an industry plant was mad obvious. Nobody had ever seen him actually rap before. Nobody had ever seen him actually live perform before. That wasn't a thing. You want to know why? Because he was always wearing that ski mask. The dude had a song with Drake and Kanye West within a month. That doesn't just happen for anybody. Like, there were legitimate arguments saying that 4Bats is AI. Like, his run was honestly ridiculous. But the originator of the hip hop industry plant allegations honestly dates back to 2016, 2017. And that's Chance the Rapper. Chance the Rapper is somebody that I can definitively say with my whole heart and chest is not an industry plant. I just think that Chance the Rapper was incredibly stupid when he told the entire world, I'm independent, in his prime. Bro, no, you're not. I think from 2014 to honestly at the start of 2015, Chance the Rapper was most likely legitimately independent. But the fact that in his prime from 2015 to 2018, he was still telling people that he was independent when it was clear that he was no longer independent, honestly just made everybody believe that he was an industry plant even more. Because I really do believe that he organically blew up. But the fact that he kept trying to perpetuate this lie to, you know, independent artists, that this is how big you could be if you stay independent, you don't need these labels. It was honestly the biggest lie and a slap in the face to those independent artists, because that's not necessarily true. There are a lot of artists who maintain a pretty good amount of success for themselves when they're independent. But honestly, most of those people who are independent that maintained a serious level of success were either previously signed or they just put in the hard work, dedication, and didn't become a mega superstar. Like, Russ is a prime example of somebody who was signed to a major label, took everything he needed from that major label, and then now is one of the biggest artists in the world. But speaking of white boys, let's stay in hip hop for a little bit. The culture of ultra industry plant has honestly been working for over a decade now at this point. And honestly, as a culture, we keep falling for it. Tommy Richmond and Post Malone are honestly the two people that come to mind when it comes to this theory, where they both come into hip hop, become wildly successful, and then tell the entire world that they're not rappers or hip hop artists. And let me make it clear, I like Post Malone. In fact, I love Post Malone and his music. But I'm not gonna just act like he's not an industry plant. He's not this guy behind me who was actually organic and loved rap and hip hop. He's not him. Neither is Tommy Richmond, who also dissed rap. Even though rap gave him his only hit, nobody listened to his album, and he tried to come back to rap. We saw right through you, bro. You revealed your hand. But somebody that I like to argue isn't an industry plant that a lot of people want to put in that tier is Jack Harlow. Jack Harlow was already popping before what's popping. Like, he had already cultivated a fan base for himself. He was already known. But I do think that his persona change and him becoming more of a swaggy, braggadocious, laid-back white boy with curly hair and earrings and a goatee honestly definitely helped out a lot. And you can see that the label was definitely packaging him into marketing him into those spaces. But it wasn't like he wasn't just some unknown person. A lot of people had known who Jack Harlow was before What's Poppin'. But honestly, the biggest argument against him at this point is the fact that he was a curly-haired, handsome white boy that was swaggy, and that's what made him easily marketable. But just because you are marketable doesn't necessarily mean that you're an industry plant. Same thing with Doechii. Just because she's marketable now doesn't necessarily mean that she's an industry plant, because it discredits all the hard work you had to do in order to be marketable. But let's shift gears from hip-hop and let's talk about that other theory that I have: the Hollywood stars and the Nepo babies. The biggest example of both of those things is definitely Miley Cyrus on Hannah Montana. In Miley Cyrus's heyday, she was 1000% bigger than both Jeff Hardy and Barack Obama. Like, the girl had sold out the O2 Arena in London, which was something that was really unheard of at the time, back-to-back nights. She was doing insane numbers, and her dad was a very popular country star. And then she got a very popular TV show. She was literally crafted and made for this. And what leads more credence to that argument was her weird crash out era in like 2013 and 2014, where she became a semi hip hop pop act and was naked on a wrecking ball. Yeah, I don't know either, but it goes back to Post Malone and Tommy Richmond of like, okay, I could transition into this and I'm going to rebel against the system because that's what black people do. And I'm gonna get hot over here as well. And I'm gonna make a lot of dollars over here as well. And then, 2016, 2017, 2018, I'm gonna, try to clean up my act and repair my image. I'm not gonna be seen. And then I'm gonna pop out with Flowers. And I like Flowers, but it's definitely a Bruno Mars ripoff. But I like the song anyway. But everything about Miley Cyrus never actually felt real, honestly, until the person that she is now. Like, that feels like who Miley Cyrus is. And she's a legend in this industry. I'm never going to discredit her legendness, if that's a word. But somebody who was also a Disney star, and they tried to market as such, and it honestly worked for what it was supposed to, I guess, but hasn't worked since, is Olivia Rodrigo. Bizarre Vark, at best, was a mildly popular Disney show. And emphasis on mildly. I remember Bizarre Vark being a thing, but nobody talked about that at school. Like, nobody was like, yo, I gotta go home and watch Bizarre Vark. Like, nobody realistically said that, right? Like, I heard more people say, I want to go home and watch Dog with the Blog, more people said, I want to go home and watch Bizarre Vark. Like, that didn't happen. But Olivia Rodrigo's run in 2021 was honestly one of the most shocking runs I've seen in a while. The girl was speaking at the White House. Huh? She had the #1 album for like 7 weeks. It felt like every single song in that album charted. And if you look at her numbers today, it's the exact same as it was in 2021, where all the songs off of that Sour album are still her most played songs, and nothing even comes close. Like, look at her projects from 2024 and 2023. I guarantee you, not really a lot of people know that those projects exist. She kind of faded away into obscurity. And this is why I secretly believe that 65 to 70% of the pop industry are industry plants, because a lot of them blow up supremely and they just kind of go away after that. And they find a new darling that they can blow up supremely, and then they kind of just skirt them out of the limelight. Like, there hasn't been a lot of sustainful pop acts, and the only one that is arguable to that is Billie Eilish, who a lot of people believe is an industry plant. And the argument is really strong for her. And again, she's somebody that I like, but it was obvious that we're gonna make her the emo internet meme edgy kid. We're gonna color her hair, we're gonna, do that whole thing. And what leads more credence to the argument, other than the fact that she blew up supremely very fast, is the fact that in one of her interviews, I think it was with Vanity Fair, she talks about how she felt like her last project was the first project that she legitimately felt like was her own, and it wasn't a bunch of producers and label execs telling her what she needs to do.
I feel really good about it. I think we're like 85% done, maybe 90. It's very genuinely like what I wanted to make, I think.
It's true. Like, it was just such a drag. It was so punishing, but I feel like it is the best thing that Phineas and I have ever made. And I'm so endlessly proud of it, like, you don't even know. I used to have this feeling with my music, like, I liked it, but I was kind of embarrassed for people that I thought were cool to listen to it. Like, anytime somebody that I thought was really cool said they listened to my song, I'd get all embarrassed and nervous and kind of frustrated and annoyed, honestly. I'd be like, no, don't listen to that. Like, that's private. And I think I wasn't as proud of it. And I think that now in my life and where I am in my career, I really stand for my music.
And so seeing her cry at the Grammys wasn't really more of like she was mad that she lost, right? In that sense, it was more like that project was super genuine to her and was really, really good, and she didn't get acknowledged for it at all. And that's when I knew, yeah, she was definitely a plant. And so her crying kind of just signified that, because she felt like she actually put her all into that and bared all of her feelings into that project, and it didn't get recognized once. And I think that was also kind of a realization for her that, like, this is what I get for actually making something that I want to make. Really? And so, not to really do a whole deep dive on Billie Eilish, but I want to end this video with, y'all don't know what this word means anymore. Like, it's clear that people don't really know what this word means anymore. And so, honestly, I kind of hope this video helps, you know, kind of give you a better picture of what a plant is. Honestly, I could have touched on a lot more people like Lil Nas X and, you know, whatever that was. And there's a lot more people that a lot of people honestly strongly believe are industry plants, like Sexy Red, Lotto, Glorilla, and honestly somebody that I deem is not an industry plant, but everybody else will tell you otherwise, Ice Spice. I think 3 of those people blew up just off of a meme and the label found them marketable. That doesn't necessarily mean that they were a plant. They were just marketable, and now they're 3 of the biggest acts in rap, music. I don't know what Ice Spice is at this point. But again, Lotto was more like Doechii, where she did a lot of the ground level work herself. She was the small headliner on a lot of those posters, like Doechii. She was doing a lot of the clubs and, you know, partnering with a lot of the smaller acts in her tier. She did XXL. And honestly, her growth, not only her artistry, but her pen, honestly been improving every year. But I think the biggest thing that a lot of people get confused nowadays is what is marketed heavily because that person is marketable versus what an industry plant is. But then again, I'm like the rest of you guys. I'm just somebody on the internet just voicing their opinion on what they think an industry plant is. But y'all let me know who y'all think an industry plant is. Y'all let me know if you disagree on anybody that I said is an industry plant or isn't an industry plant. I honestly want to hear your argument, because I think there are legitimate cases for some of these people. Other ones, I don't think so. But anyway, y'all, it's been your boy Josh Hero.